Welcome back to the DenCast, everyone. This is podcast number 7. Joining us today is Pickford Athletic Director Susan Edington. Susan, we want to thank you for being here. How are you doing tonight?
Good. Thank you for having me.
Sure thing. Um, I guess first, a little bit of background. How long have you been the athletic director at Pickford?
This is my third year.
Your third year.
hmm
How many years does it feel like you've been the athletic director?
Easily double that, if not triple.
It's not an easy job nowadays.
Right.
So let's give us a little bit of background in terms of your history at Pickford. It sounds like you've worn a lot of hats there.
I have worn quite a few. I started coaching back in '99. I got married to John back then and moved to Pickford. Started coaching and just kind of fell in love with it. I love being around sports and hanging out with the kids and teaching them. And
Okay, so you coached what level in '99?
I started at JV. I did that for a couple years, and then Barb Story, who I started under, had retired. I went up to varsity, did that for 3 or 4. I can't remember exactly what. And then when the season didn't make that change that they were fighting for to get the volleyball moved to fall,
Mm-hmm.
I was about to have my fourth son, and I stepped away from varsity. And at the time, Chuck Bennon was the athletic director, and he asked me to stay on at 8th grade, and I've been there ever since.
Okay, so you have literally coached at every level of the volleyball program in Pickford.
I have, yeah.
Which one did you find to be the most enjoyable?
Actually, I really enjoy where I'm at. I think the kids still have that mentality. They want to learn a lot, and it's little less stressful. I'm there to teach those kids to move them up. I'm not there to win as in a varsity level.
Sure, sure. So in your role as athletic director, um, you're responsible for multiple sports instead of just 12 to 15 eighth graders. How does that affect the approach that you take going into each season? No, I mean, just knowing that you're responsible for the whole shebang.
Um, you definitely have to be organized and make sure that you have everything going. I've always been around sports. My dad was a football coach. He coached basketball. So to come up through that, I've always been around the sports that we have in Pickford. So I think that that helps to have that passion to keep it going for the kids coming up through now.
Okay. So being an athletic director, you have to deal with any number of things that don't necessarily involve athletics anymore. It never used to be that way. You used to be,
Right.
if it wasn't on the court, it wasn't your domain. But now, do you find that you're dealing with a lot more things that don't necessarily involve on the court and on the field activities?
I think absolutely. I have to deal a lot with the academic end, keeping my kids eligible so that they can be on that court, but there's so much beyond it. The fundraising that you have to do as an athletic director at a small district is a lot. And to have to continue to go out to the different community members and businesses that hugely support our programs is awesome. I never really struggle with that. We always have a ton of support, and I've been able to incorporate some of the fundraising into some other opportunities where they can do advertising. We have our annual golf scramble in June that's becoming more and more popular. So
How hard is it to continue to go to the community and say, we need this, we need that, I mean, that's got to be that would be, I know for me, that would be the toughest part.
yeah, and it is tough because we are a small community. There's only so many businesses and so many people that you can hit up for that type of sponsorship, I guess. But we try to offset it with a lot of advertising that helps to bring into their business as well. We have our sports posters you can advertise on. We have our banners at the fields that you can advertise on. We started a new program last year looking for more funding for our athletic department. Guard Kangas, who coaches 3 different sports, went out, and we have program sponsors now. So in our programs, you see those different businesses where we advertise for them at every one of those events.
Including a new EUP Sports Den logo on
Yes,
your
yes.
programs. Thank you very
You will
much.
find that this year. We're going to add that on, and we'll get it on our website. having you guys there to do so much for our local kids is awesome. We just don't have that anymore. So
Well, we do whatever we can do, and we really appreciate the things that the local schools are doing for us as well. So
yeah,
hopefully that continues to work both
absolutely,
ways.
absolutely.
Speaking of fundraising, you guys just had a major fundraising effort take place for some new lights.
It actually, and I can't even tell you who did it. It was a single donor who knew the situation that we were in. I don't know if you were at last year's Red Dirt game in the playoffs. We lost multiple lights at that game, and our field was just getting darker and darker. And it's a huge project, and they came forward and gave a lot of money to make that happen, and it's awesome. Our field looks great with those lights on it.
Yeah, I was at that game, and the two end zones were lit up like Christmas, but the
Mm-hmm.
middle of the field was
Right.
like being in a dark room.
Right. Roger Morrison said to me after I lit him up, I had gone to do something. I came back and he's like, "You just lost 3 bulbs on that pole." And but they're old. You know, those came over from the base. The Harrison crew and some other people from Pickford had done that project in the early 90s, and they've been there ever since. So to not be able to find the people to go up those poles, it's really hard to get that lift. I mean, those things are 90 feet in the air.
Well, I can tell you,
So
I'm not going up there
I
ever.
wasn't going up there either. So,
Yeah.
but it looks great when you get to see it all lit up. It's it's phenomenal. It's such an awesome thing to have that done for our
Now,
team.
did you guys just replace the bulbs that are out, or did you replace everything? I heard you guys replaced everything with LED
We
lights.
did. We replaced all, gosh, I want to say it's 72 lights. And they're all LED now. They were able to position them right. We lit them up for the first time with all the poles, and I watched Neil Harrison was there that night, and Steve was there as well, who did the electrical work on it. And you could watch and you could see it go straight across the field on a shadow, and then you could see the X. And it was so awesome to see it because we had so many dark spots.
So what you're saying is you are now in danger of having small aircraft land on the field
Maybe,
during
yeah,
games.
maybe
Okay.
so. It is bright. We've
Well,
had a couple people comment they thought that there were northern lights when it was actually the glow from the field.
well, that's pretty crazy, but it's
Yeah,
pretty cool that it all got done.
right.
Now, you understand that every 5 minutes for the rest of the time we're on this podcast, I'm going to sneak in the question, who was the donor? Because
You
everybody wants to know.
and you could ask me that 100 different times. I honestly have no idea who my donor was.
I don't need you to. I don't need you to
Uh,
do it every time. I just
yeah,
need you to slip once, and then
yeah,
we'll have it.
we can try, but yeah, not
Okay.
knowing the name helps me not answer that question.
Sure. Sure. That's what I would say in your shoes too.
Yeah, yeah.
So now you've had 4 kids that you mentioned go through
Mm-hmm.
Pickford athletic programs. Now,
Yes,
obviously, you weren't the athletic director for all of them.
correct.
How does having a kid in sports programs while you're the athletic director, how does that affect you?
It made it a little more stressful on me. It was probably harder on Jacob than it was on me because I was there all the time. You know, the other boys, I was involved and I'd like to help as much as I could, but he had to deal with me on a daily basis. He had to know that mom was checking grades and mom was going to get after him if he didn't do this, and don't be late for practice and you better make sure this is done. So, I'm looking forward honestly to being able to do this role without having to worry about my own kid under my realm.
Well, it's got to take just at least one small worry off your plate, not having to deal with how people are going to look at um, the relationship between you and your son. I mean, I know
Right.
having coached my own kid, I've heard plenty of times, oh, yeah, she's playing because dad's the coach or
Yeah.
whatever. And I'm sure maybe nobody had the guts to say that to you out loud, but I'm sure there were people
Oh, I
thinking,
had people say it.
oh, yeah, so, okay,
Yeah.
so, yeah, you
Yeah.
did
And
hear
you
it.
do. And I think that me growing up as my dad being my coach and my athletic director kind of gave me that little bit of, they're going to say it. I'm not favoring him any more than I would any other athlete. Um, so I think that in growing up with that over me kind of helped in that situation.
Okay. I'm sure my daughter would say that playing sports with me being involved was probably harder on her than other
Oh, I'm
kids.
sure. I
But
never had to coach my kids though.
well,
So that was one thing for me. I never coached any of them.
it's not
So
for everybody, I can tell you
yeah.
that.
Oh, I'm sure my dad would have said that same thing.
Um, so we're coming into football season.
hmm
Uh, expectations are right through the roof for you guys. As an athletic director, how does that? I mean, do you go out of your way to do anything extra for the program, or is it just business as usual? What's your mindset regarding that?
I think it's a lot of business as usual because you need to keep the kids at that level. You don't want them to get over anticipated on things. You want them to keep that level head and go out there and do their job because they have high expectations for themselves as much as everybody else does for them. And you want to make sure that you keep it level and you support them at what they need and help get them to where they want to be.
Okay. Now you guys have an interesting relationship with Maplewood Baptist. You
hmm
co-op with them in several different sports.
We do.
How, like, what level of communication and discussion does that take between the two schools to hammer things out in terms of uh, pay to participate, in terms of transportation? How do you guys manage all that?
Um, I think it works very well. There's a lot of times that I forget that we're two different districts because I think that Josh and I get along great. Our communication is very open, which really helps with that. Um, Hopefully, we can keep pay to participate off our table. That's why you see so many fundraisers and so many opportunities to make donations to the program because I'm not a fan of pay to participate. Um, there's a co-op fee, but we all work on fundraising together. Transportation works well together. I mean, they come to us and we transport everybody. And I think that open line of communication has really helped
Sure.
with that.
And they have a new athletic director this year as well. Is that
They
correct?
do.
Rachel Cromie.
Rachel Cromie.
I'm
Yep,
assuming you're pretty familiar with her already.
I am.
Okay.
Yeah, it's different. It's different communicating with her as an athletic director over being just mom because her son Caden plays football.
Yep.
So we've had that communication, and I've known them for several years now through athletics. But her communication's great. I mean, we've been back and forth several times, making sure all the paperwork's in on kids and their fundraising's going, and so yeah.
Okay. So now you went to school in Cedarville,
Yes.
correct?
Yeah.
Graduated from there.
Mhm.
Um, you end up in Pickford. At one point, that was a jailable offense at the
Oh
least.
yeah. Yeah.
So how do you? How long have you considered yourself a Panther?
It's probably been since I started coaching there. I really have. There's a lot that still call me the traitor, which is okay. I'm okay with that. But I still have my roots down there too. I still have family down there. I
Sure.
still have tons of friends down there. But it's different. There's a lot of trash talking at times between myself
Oh,
and some friends.
I've been there.
But yeah, it's definitely I think I'm definitely more to the Panther side.
Well, I mean, you're wearing a Panther shirt here as we speak, so
I am. Yep.
that goes a long way. So we actually saw each other earlier today. We were
Mhm.
out in the Pickford gym for the first tournament of the year, which I discovered the other day is this is the first day the competition is allowed to take place, and by
Yep.
golly, you guys are going to be the first ones.
And we did. Yeah, we have our annual varsity booster meet. Our booster club sponsors that for us. So we ended up with 9 teams this year. Long day in the gym. It was a great day of volleyball. We had Northern Lower, Eastern UP, Superior Central comes over from the West End. Um, it was a great tournament. You know, when you when you get to do that, and it's something I've always done. I've been around tournaments since my dad was athletic director and my sister coached in Cedarville. So to be able to bring those tournaments and give those kids those opportunities. You get 18 dates in volleyball. That's all you get. So when you can load them with a tournament, those teams came in and got 4 games today, and get those bugs out. They've had a week and a half of practice, but it gives that opportunity for them, the coaches, to work with the kids and get things out. And we had some close games today. We had some that weren't as tough. Ended up with 2 EUPs with St. Agnes and Rudyard in the final game, and it was a great match to watch. St. Agnes came out on top, but Rudyard's consistently there. So is St. Agnes in that tournament. And it's nice to have that opportunity for those kids.
Sure.
I wish mine would have been there, but it's nice to have our EUPs at that top.
Absolutely. So you talked about the players getting the bugs out.
Mm-hmm.
As an athletic department, I would imagine you guys are sort of getting the bugs out as well. I mean, this is probably the first time the nacho machine's been turned on in a little while.
Right.
First time you've had actual competition in the gym other than just open gyms. How smooth do you feel like everything went today?
I think it went well. It added in a little bit with our PD day for our staff. Our staff was back in the building today as well, but it gets that stuff going. The kids are getting a little bit out. They're getting to understand it a little bit better. It's one thing when you have practice for a week and a half, but you know what's going to happen. You know what your teammates are going to do. But when you get out there against somebody else, it gives you that opportunity to adjust more. You may not know where that hitter from Brimley is going to hit the ball, so you have to adjust to that. And it helps that coach have that ability to adjust their defense around too and know where they need to help cover things.
Sure. So now that I guess sports seasons are officially kicked off, you go from a summer of, oh my gosh, it's coming. Oh my gosh, it's coming, to holy hell, it's here.
Yeah.
How do things change for you from this point to the end of May?
A lot of planning and programs and cash boxes and rosters and making sure that your officials are coming. We have such an official shortage in our area that you may think you have enough and you may find out you're short one.
And I'm sorry to interrupt you, but that's a great point that you just made. Officials have been a major pain in the side of every athletic director throughout this area and probably throughout the state. What kind of precautions do you take to make sure that you're going to have officials? I mean, I know that you guys play JV and varsity football on the same nights in the same place to make sure that you don't have to get 2 sets of officials. You only need 1.
Yeah.
What other precautions do you take to make sure that you're going to have officials?
I tend to communicate a lot with my officials. A lot of them are in our area. I have some that come from west. Like my first football game is next Thursday, and I've already been in touch with Charlie Ritchie over in Manistee to make sure that we have a crew coming. And he's still working on filling that crew and make sure he can tell me who's coming. But volleyball is a little easier. I mean, football, you have 5 guys out there on any game.
Right.
And we've actually ended up separating quite a few of ours this year because of the lack of JV teams within our conference. So we're playing that Thursday night game and that Friday night game. It gives our kids a 5-quarter opportunity to get some of those younger kids up there getting into those varsity games. But we're starting to get more crews, which is nice. Rudyard's got another crew this year for football. I've been working hard on some volleyball officials just to get them in there. They don't necessarily have to do every game, but the more we can get in there, the less stressful it is on that official. When you get into basketball, those guys are working 5 nights a week.
Oh, at least.
And some of these guys, bless their hearts for continuing to ref as long as they're reffing, but we need to try and get some younger ones in to give those officials that have been around for a while a break.
Well, and I was just going to say, I've talked to several people who officiate football, and they've said, I don't know how much longer I want to be out in the middle of a football field in the freezing cold of October, I mean, a
Right.
lot of guys are getting a little long in the tooth to be doing that.
Right. I remember one game, I think it was my son Nick's, would have been his junior year, I believe. We were in the negatives out there playing in that semifinal football game. And those guys have to go out there and ref in that. And there's only so many layers you can put on and still run up and down that field. So, especially in the UP, we never know what our weather will be like. So, to have them go out there in the mud or, you get those slip hazards. So,
Yeah, and I remember that game too. And you're right, it was
it was
it
cold.
was cold. Yeah, I was happy that game was over. Like
I,
I was
I was
almost beyond
happy, but
caring
I
who
wish it would
won.
have gone the other way.
Yeah, no, I for me, I was almost beyond caring who won. I just
Yeah.
wanted
Yeah.
I
It
wanted
was
it over.
cold.
So, um, you guys had a millage not too long ago where I think the assumption was that had it passed, you guys were going to put a new gym behind the old one. At least that was the rumor.
Oh, for our building project?
Yeah, yeah. And then when the millage did pass, all of a sudden, um, the what is it? You guys' multi-purpose room got
Right.
redone.
It did. Yeah.
Was there ever plans to for a second or for a renovated bigger gym?
Not that I'm aware of. I
Okay.
was actually on that parent committee to try and help get that bond passed, and I don't remember that part of it. Um, I know the multi definitely expanded. Um, it didn't between adding in COVID, and then when we came back from COVID, all the costs had gone up. So there were cutbacks on some of the different things. So um, the multi still has a legal volleyball court. We're not legal for basketball in there, but you know, as much as I would love to have a new gym, I don't foresee that happening anytime soon.
So let's say just for fun,
Mm-hmm.
let's say money's not an issue. What is the one improvement or project that you would put in place at Pickford?
Inside or outside?
Either, either you pick.
That's tough because you look inside and we really need more seating. I would love to be able to expand our seating to get more people in there. And our weight room's about a third of the size we would like it to be. But man, you look outside and our football bleachers those are getting to the point that we're gonna have to start looking at some renovation out there. And we're also hoping we have a Panther legacy project that people can donate to fund different projects within the building. And our next one that we're looking at athletically is to get a field house out at our football stadium. Um, you look at our concession stand and it's pretty tiny, and we don't have running water out there. We don't have bathrooms out there. Busy Bee luckily helps us out every year, and we get the porta johns out there. But there's so many different things. Our officials usually go back to their vehicle at halftime. We don't have a space for them out there. So we're hoping to get that project up and rolling just to try and give those abilities to move forward and expand some of that stuff out there.
Yeah, that would be a great addition.
Mm-hmm.
I had never even thought about that possibility, but
Yeah.
that would be an incredible addition out there.
Yeah. And it's been talked about for a long time. When I first started in the Booster Club, which, oh my gosh, I think Derek was in kindergarten. So it was it was like back in 2005 maybe. But we had talked about that. But there's always that fund. How are you going to pay for this? Where are you going to put this? How is your water going to work? There's a lot of things that happen behind those scenes that hopefully by pushing it through and getting the public aware of what we want to do, because it's going to be a huge benefit to everybody.
Well, maybe you could get the same person that funded the lights to fund the field house. What was his name again?
Maybe. Not sure.
Mm,
Can't really put a name there.
well played, Susan. Well played. Um, so your time as athletic director has been, I wouldn't call it turbulent. It seems like it's been fairly smooth. Would you agree with that assessment?
I would, for the
Okay.
most part. I think every athletic director has to deal with ups and downs in tough situations. Some things go the way you want them, some things don't. But I think that comes along with being an athletic director. There's a lot to oversee there and keep under control of what you want and how you want to see those programs go.
Well, and it's definitely one of those jobs where you're never going to be loved by everybody. There's always going
Very
to be
true.
somebody with a beef, whether it's real or made up or whatever.
Right.
But how do you, I mean, how do you deal with that? I mean, that to me would seem like it would be the hardest part of the job because I get a little bit of that even doing what we're doing.
Right.
You write the wrong thing about the wrong person's kid, and all of a sudden you're getting phone calls and emails, and what
I
a
do that
jerk you
often.
are. Yeah, I haven't seen
I
any of those from you, but
well, I hope I wouldn't do that.
yeah,
But I am a mom,
yeah,
and everybody wants to see their kid get that best opportunity or that best write up or the most time on the court. Um, the one thing I say to a lot of people is my skin gets thicker as I do this job. Um, I've learned very quickly that you're not going to please everybody, but I think that what I look at is that I need to do what's best for those kids and for the programs. You know, the kids are why we're there to help them succeed. um, I've been blessed to have two kids go on and play collegiate athletics, and we have those kids that want to do that, and helping to support those athletes and get them to where they want to be and the success that they want to achieve. I think that at the end of the day is what makes it worth it, makes you want to come back and put the effort into making it better.
that's a very good answer. So again, Susan, thank you for coming on the show. We really appreciate it. Thank you for your insights and stories about being an
Absolutely.
athletic director. We would like to encourage everyone out there to like and share as often as possible so that we can keep this thing going. We really appreciate everything that you do for us as listeners, and come on back. We'll be back next week. Thank you. Thank you guys for listening, and girls, and we'll talk to you soon.